Welcome to the Continental Challenge. I'm here with Rudrose. I am Wonderland. We're gonna get to watch Kendall versus Theotime. How are you doing today?
Good, man. Happy to be joining with you again. It was fun last time. Should be fun
Oh
this
yeah,
time. So let's see. Theotime is on. I always have to remind myself who's playing what deck list. So he's on the yellow blue kind of aggro Alice list, right?
yeah. I'm gonna get that popped up here for chat in a second.
And then it's Noimnot is the other one. Do they have a different name on the spreadsheet? Oh, there we go. It's actual Noimnot.
Kendall
Okay.
or
Kendall. There we go.
yeah,
So it'll be the blue yellow kind of aggro. Looks like pretty traditional red purple. Yeah, which is exciting after the European Championships this weekend too, and we saw Red Purple take the top spot. So this one running the Queen's Chamber, which is a big difference in a lot of the lists lately. A lot of them really seem to have cut out the locations. You're a DLC winner, so I'd be kind of curious. What are your thoughts on that? Why do you think a lot of people have shied away from the locations all of a sudden?
it because of Amethyst. With foxes and crabs, locations are just a little bit more of a liability.
Mm.
And that's kind of what it comes down to. Oh,
And meta stuff like that is always fascinating to me because it's not like Fox and Crab are new cards, right? They've been around forever, but maybe now they've just gotten kind of more of a critical mass that because they're so
yeah.
common and so frequent in so many decks, including these green purple decks, it's like, maybe they're just too much of a liability to run right now.
Yeah, it's just a bigger meta share, basically. So you're just going to see a lot more. And so if you're going to see it more, it's just not as good to have those locations that are easily taken out.
That makes sense. Well, and I've definitely seen the power of this new Alice card. This blue yellow is not to be underestimated in its aggro abilities. That ability to just give ward and extra lore to any other character
Oh,
is
yeah.
very annoying to fight against.
Just over and over ward action
Mm-hmm.
is, it can definitely be brutal.
You'll have a lot of those. Well, I could hit that with a brawl, but I'm not allowed to this turn, so I guess I won't be doing that. Looking over No I'm Not's list, we've got a
Oh,
2-2 split of Madame Medusa, Lady Tremaine, 4 Brawl, 4 Friends, 4 Be Prepared, 4 Queen's Castle. Pretty standard stuff. He actually, in this version, has 4 of the Rabbit and 2 of the Genie Wish Fulfilled.
well, I apologize, chat, for the double voice of my co-host that you probably just had. I
Uh-oh.
had
Do I
I
need to
had
fix
the
something?
nope. It was something I had to fix, and I fixed it. I had my brave sounds and my co-host sounds coming in at the exact same time. I only hear you once, but they definitely heard you twice. But
Ah.
it should be all crisp and clear. I mean, it's not a stream if we don't have some sort of audio
Oh,
issues.
of course, yeah. It wouldn't be a cross-continental stream if we didn't just...
It's more fun
Everyone
this
got to
way.
get that echo. They're bang for their buck.
So
Speaking of that, are we still calling this the Cross Continental Challenge? I forgot if we had to change the name or not.
I think we just dropped the L.
Okay. Very, very good.
All right, so I think they're just still shuffling. Hopefully, we have let them know we're ready.
Yeah. Double check, make sure. Man, I love that map that I think
Oh
Theotime
yeah,
has with all the Mims and the Merlins on it. That's really cool.
it's really neat.
And of course, the Oswald peeling back that he's got friends on the other side. Very thematic as well. I love that. Do you see a lot of Oswald cards lately? I don't know if any made it to any of the championships, but
It's really been cut back on play.
mm, just too inconsistent, you think?
Uh, I think that mixed with it is a fire the cannons
Oh,
format,
yeah. That's a good point.
and like having your control list get answered by the anti aggro cards can be pretty irritating.
Yeah.
I'm re-downloading deck lists because apparently I lost it. Oh, it was that one. Well, I guess I was just also silly.
I'm curious too that a lot of these red purple lists so far don't actually seem like they've embraced the new purple Diablo, still favoring the Broom and the Chernabog. One of the things I liked about that purple Diablo was like if it were to get answered immediately by a steel deck, you would still draw a card. But I don't know, maybe they want the attack in case they run into something like a Cursed Merfolk, or maybe they just like more the controlled nature that they can kind of choose when to get the card draw.
Yeah, it's interesting.
No crab actually in Noimnot's list.
Yeah, that definitely is not. I mean, these lists were put out the first day, right?
Yeah, and they couldn't
So
adjust them.
yeah, I think I'm sure Crab's at least a 2 of. I would
Yeah.
assume based after this last weekend, like in the Genie versus Genie fights. I'm guessing you're also playing Max Genies. The argument was like, oh, well, Rabbit's better for you. But, Genie not only is a threat, but it's good at taking out opposing Genies, especially when you have Crabs. Going Genie, they play a Genie, you play Elsa, tap their Genie down, send both of yours into their Genie to get rid of it is like a very crisp and nice answer.
Yeah. I love the Scrooge McDuck in the blue-yellow list. Not as potent here because we don't really have any ramp that I can tell, but I've actually faced this card against some ramp decks, and when on turn 3 they put out a 5/5, that quest for 2, it's like, oh, I don't know how to answer that card. All right. I'm assuming they're starting as players have drawn opening hands. I believe this is pre-mulligan. I don't know if we saw the die roll or not.
Oh. Uh-oh. They need to be careful because sometimes when one of the screens goes black, it makes it so the hand protector goes away.
Mm.
We shall see.
I'm hoping this is pre-mulligan for Noimnot's sake because he has a lot of uninkables in his hand right now.
That does tend to happen with.
Let's see how many he's running. He's on 14, a little less than a fourth. Same with blue-yellow. Yeah, so they both are actually running 14 uninkables.
Where did?
Okay, looks like they are resolving this time. Other than the be prepared. Ooh, still got 3 uninkables, but we do have a Flynn Sisu line with a Chernabog. Only downside being we don't have a lot of ink if we want to put all those cards out, but as long as we draw into it, he should ultimately be okay. And statistically, hey, if you've got 3 uninkables in hand, right, then you're statistically more likely to draw into ink at this point.
Yeah. Sorry, just trying to figure out why
you're good,
my logo is mirrored.
I will carry the casting while
do
you
it.
work on all the technical issues. And folks, as always in chat, do let us know because again, we've always got different people in different games trying to run these. So if there are any technical issues, sound, visual, whatever, just feel free to let us know and we'll work on that as quickly as we are able to. Aggro list doesn't have, unless he's got one hidden behind that Donald. I don't think he's got a 1-drop on his side. That's not ideal. He actually has 2 big keys. It doesn't look like he has a play till turn 3. Probably not where you want to be in a blue-yellow.
Definitely. Oh, definitely not where you want to be.
If he's going second, he could potentially draw into one, but nope. So we're just going to ink the McDuck Manor and pass. Yeah, not a great opening hand there for Theotime.
Yeah, it's definitely going to go in Kendall's favor here since he has like the 1, 2, 3 with the Flynn. It's not every day that on the draw your Flynn is actually looking good, but
yeah,
if they don't play anything, if they don't draw a 2-drop here, this Flynn is just going to go the distance. It's like, how do you compete with that? Oh my
Oh, the
goodness.
third Kita.
Another 5-drop. Not only is it not a 2-drop, a 1-drop, but it's something that's not even that good that you already have multiples of. At least it's inkable.
This is... Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Quick drop on... There we go. Came right back. Well, I mean, it's just another ink pass on this. Probably you just give up one of those Kitas unless you just really want to go overboard on them. And on the next turn, if you want to block the Flynn for a turn, you're essentially going to have to jam the Donald out unless you can draw into something else, even though the Donald by itself isn't going to really do anything.
Play, yeah. I mean...
Or you take the Flynn hit and you could put the Alice out.
It, like, threatens stuff, at least. Like, you're on the defensive at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to play the Donald, sadly. It's just so brutal.
Nala, well, there's our 1-drop, 2 turns too late, and with no strength, I don't think that's going to be coming out. Inks the Rapunzel, he'll either put out the Alice to potentially set up a future turn, or use the Donald to stop the Flynn, which he's going to have to do. And the nice thing is, even if we follow up with the Sisu, he can now get to the Scrooge McDuck. So Scrooge should have a pretty good time of stopping this Flynn. So far, despite not an ideal opening, we've at least prevented any of these Flynn instant 3 lore triggers. Is that a brawl we drew? Oh, we drew into a Be Prepared. So we actually still have quite a bit on uninkables on Noimnot side, which is why he's going to quest with this Chernobog's followers and draw a card, hoping to draw into more ink. Does get a brawl.
Yeah, one player doesn't have ink, one player doesn't have cards.
Yeah.
Characters.
Lorcana at its best.
I mean, it kind of is that way. In the manner that, like, players have to think more on their feet. It's not just the most powerful, every game played act, like the things that happen every game. It's going to make you have to make plays that you're not used to and adjust on the fly. So, like, you get to see aspects and plays made that just, like, normally don't happen. You're like, why would this ever happen? It's like, oh, well, actually, they're playing around this, and this from occurring because they got in this weird scenario where now their only out is this. And, like, it forces you to then play to your outs, which is, like, a difficult aspect to do.
Yeah, it's a great point, Luke. It's always easy to follow the game plan, right? But what happens when it doesn't go to plan? As we see Mr. Scrooge McDuck come down, and he is going to match the Sisu's power currently. The Sisu has a strength of exactly 5, which will match the Scrooge. And Kita can manipulate that further on the next turn as we see fit. And also dangerous for this Sisu to quest, as this Scrooge can answer it pretty easily. So it is going to sing Friends on the other side. Brawl can take out Donald, but can't do much against the bigger duck. We've got the uncle and the nephew. And the uncle's too much of a veteran to be taken down by a silly card like Brawl.
Yeah, it's an interesting aspect. There's a few different reasons that this could be. It could just be that Kendall doesn't need to try to win, right? So he's not being like, I need to protect this Flynn and stuff. He literally could be, I will happily force you to empty your hand into my Be Prepared to get, and then I'll trade my Flynn and Sisu to your empty board while I have cards. My goat trades back. My Sisu could. I just inked an Elsa, so I'm representing possibly having another. I mean, we know that he doesn't. He's light on ink, but
Kita could be effective here if you wanted to kind of do a quest turn. You could do Alice to potentially set up the extra lore and the ward. I don't even hate the Sven if you just wanted to get some kind of easy lore and then stand something back up. He's got a couple choices. I suppose you could even throw the Wendy out if you really wanted to get support online. But
so if we play Kita and ink, I don't think they can take out Donald.
Because only, let's see, the goat would have one attack. And then Sisu would have
none.
0, yeah.
One or none.
Or one, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Well, snoozing that ad. I need to Remember, as soon as game 1 ends, to start a 10-minute timer to line it up so the ad hits during the mulliganing.
We do go for a quest on the Scrooge McDuck, and Sven will come back down to Ready Scrooge, essentially continue to build our board while just telling our opponent, yeah, let's see what you got. I know you won't quest with that, Flynn.
I remember in some testing, someone was like, "Man, Sven was so good for me. It was even better when I thought you could challenge with it after you readied." And I was like, "You can't." Like, I just assumed it was a LeFou.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it had other like quote unquote drawbacks.
Well, and that's been kind of the standard text, right? Is that it can't quest for the rest of the turn, but usually you can sing or challenge. And as we get more uninkable, my goodness, we have 2 Be Prepareds, a Medusa. I think that's Tremaine as well. So we just have Goat and Brawl for our inking options. And we're still several turns off from that Be Prepared too. So, and now this is actually looking pretty decent for Theotime, simply because if any of these characters quest, this Scrooge McDuck can challenge them pretty favorably.
But honestly, the same could be said the other way around.
True.
Whereas in like he can't leave his things exerted very much. Like, and sure, he's like, no, I'm not threatening not inking here, but at the same time, he can just challenge the board down, basically.
Yeah. We see Goat 2.0. Not too often you see 2 goats come out this early in a red-purple game, but I'm not mad to see it. We get another one of our 1-drops that we definitely would have liked to have had earlier. If he wanted to set up a shift line, he could go in on the small key. Decides not to do that. I don't hate the idea of aerial here just for the ward. The one downside of Akita at this point is it actually weakens your own Scrooge to be vulnerable to a Medusa. But we are going to play the Kita out, shrink the board, and quest for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should put us up to 7.
Yeah, if he can chain Kitas, that might be all it takes. He can technically take down the duck if he really so felt the need to. Which he might.
So Flynn has no strength. Both goats and the Sisu have 1 strength currently. Oh, and we drew another uninkable, so we can't Medusa this turn. Look at all those red cards just chomping at the bit, waiting to remove these characters, but no dice. That Kita was huge there. Yeah, there's really no point in challenge. You'd have to hit the Donald anyway. I mean, I guess you could send all 3 of them into Donald. I don't know if that's worth it, but maybe you have to if you feel like you got to just catch up, especially since now you're 2 turns away from a Be Prepared.
It's definitely not what you wanted.
So is there a world, you're kind of past the point where Flynn normally gets all his lore. Is there a point maybe you just start questing with the Flynn at this point and you're okay if now Theotime wants to stop and answer it back and challenge it?
The problem is it's only 1.
Yeah, you're not getting very ahead with that.
It's a rough spot here. Like,
yeah, you can't play anything from hand, so your choices are quest, challenge, or do nothing.
Like, I assume you challenge or quest.
Looks like he's questing, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he should go up to 8. So he is technically ahead on lore. Our opponent is presumably going to just go into Kita Part 2 and go up by 7.
That's the problem. Is the third Kita might just win him the game. It's crazy to think that you can miss your 1 and 2
right?
drop. But the power of Kita just like blanking, like buying you a turn sometimes.
Yeah. And so crucial that Noimnot missed that ink there, because at least because now he could be threatening Be Prepared on this next turn, but without that, Theotime knows, hey, I can still go wide for at least 1 or 2 more turns.
Yeah, he could have either have quested again here and like Medusa Sven, or well, probably the Kita since she's got big defense.
So if we play Kita 2.0 and just quest out, that's going to be 7 lore. It's going to put us on 14. We'll be on lethal. And the most your opponent can do if they top deck ink is put out a single Medusa. Challenge the... I think you would just win, right? So like, let's say he would have to send 3 people into the Donald. And then the Medusa, let's say, takes out the Scrooge. You would still have Kita, Sven, which is 6 lore. So you would win off of that. Not that Theotime knows what's in Noimnot's hands, but... Yeah, we are going to go for Kita 2.0. When Kita enters play, she shrinks all characters' strength by -3 until the start of your next turn. And looks like we now are going to quest out and get 7 lore, take us up to 14, putting us on that lethal value. And presumably just pass here. If you absolutely want to make sure the Sisu hit for 0, you could ink that Wendy, but just saying, hey, you got to answer me. Show me that you can do something about this. Did we actually draw ink? No, we drew another uninkable,
No.
So we can't even do the Medusa. Holy uninkables, Batman. That is crazy. Am I playing this deck? Because this looks like something I would do. My goodness.
It's just so crazy. It's like you just see one into the other. It's just like one player gets punished with nothing, and then the other gets it afterwards.
I know. Wow. Yeah, I said earlier, well, statistically, he should draw more ink, right? Clearly, that was wrong. Well, now the most he can do from hand is play Rabbit. So this should just be game. Play Rabbit, maybe draw into... What could you... Is there anything you could draw into? No, I don't think so. So, yeah. He scoops it up. Wow. And so Theotime takes that despite not having a card to put down on the field till turn 3, which was a Donald with nothing to help, and it didn't matter. All his characters just stayed on the board that whole time. Wow. That was not the game I was expecting.
Not how it was written out, that's for sure. Probably for both. It's like neither of them expected it to be that way.
Yeah. It just feels so bad when you have all this removal in your hand. It's like, nope, but I can't use it because I didn't draw the ink for it. I'm trying to catch up on Twitch chat here. Make sure, hopefully everything's sounding good, looking good. As always, let us know if you run into any issues. But I think Luke usually does a great job with all this stuff, so I trust that it's all wonderful looking and sounding.
You would think that it would be good after how much I've done it, but somehow things like to continue just to fail on me for no reason.
That's one of the more frustrating aspects about doing stuff like this, is when something like just works fine for 3-4 casts, and then randomly it's like, nope, it's broken now. You're like, what? But why? I didn't change anything.
Right. I mean, that's what happened a few of the times where just my audio wasn't saved. I have no idea why. I did not change anything, and it just stopped recording audio, and then I still did not do anything, and it started recording again. Like, I changed nothing, and there's just a period of time where it didn't work. I'm like,
that's so frustrating.
It's like,
oh, that's so frustrating.
Why during the casting? It could be that I was uploading and downloading too many streams, like doing some VDO, and then I was trying to be in the Pixelborn, so I had it popped up as well, and it just might have been too much for my system to handle with the OBS, so it was just not doing the proper encodes, is my thought process.
Well, hopefully we don't have any of those kind of issues today, because those are always very frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, if I told you at the start, before this match started, Luke, if I'd said, okay, the yellow-blue player isn't going to play anything for 3 turns, and the red-purple player is going to see their opening of Chernobog, Sisu, Flynn, Sisu, would you have ever said, oh, well, obviously yellow-blue is going to blow them out pretty handily? Yeah.
No, I would not have. Definitely missing 1 and 2, and then having your first play be a Donald, and it actually kind of just stopping your opponent.
Yeah. All right, so only 1 uninkable this time on Noimnot side. I believe this is pre-mulligan, of course. We actually do have 2 1-drops if you count the location and the Ana. I'm assuming that Nala is a hero, and so Nala would turn on the Ana.
Ooh, there we go. We're just getting rid of everything but the 1-drop. He isn't getting scared. He gets ink screwed once, but he's not going to let it phase him because it is
Hmm.
statistically an anomaly. So he's going to like keep going.
Gets 2 uninkables back, but has the Flynn line. Doesn't have Sisu. Can also go on the Snake line too, although he will be going first this time. So yeah, he's got some choices. I don't even hate like the 1-drop into the Flynn, and then you snake the 1-drop on the next turn, and you could get the snake out there potentially. You also have Brawl if you need to answer what your opponent's doing. And Theotime, only thing we see is the Wendy. This Wendy card is so interesting because while I've seen it in so many of these blue lists, I haven't actually seen anyone play it. It seems like it often goes into the Inkwell. So I wonder if there's a like, if given the chance, if he could switch his deck around, that he would go into it. No, we got 1-drops this time as we reveal double Daisy.
Is there a third one? Does he just like have it all?
That'd be fun.
Like, both players have their like really aggressive hands when they're on the draw.
Right. Yeah, so Snake could potentially be the choice here to try to deal with these daisies. Not that I can deal with it in one shot.
Yeah, he
This
has
one will
the
be fun.
option for the Flynn, but it's unlikely that's where he's going to want to go. But it's a possibility.
Give up one of the brawls for the Magic Broom. We get the awesome Baymax into Theotime's hand, which could be ink this early. Could also ink something like that Alice. Even Nikita decides to actually give up the Donald. Not too worried about the turn 3 bodyguard play. And here comes Daisy Duck. Potentially will help out Noimnot as well by filtering some more cards into the hand. Go ahead and quest with the broom. Actually going to ink the Flynn, deciding we need some aggression, so it does play the Snake, bounces the broom back to hand. Snake cannot one-shot this Daisy, so it will need at least 2 bites out of that juicy duck.
Gotta take it down eventually.
Oh, he got it! He got the next Daisy! Oh, man. Well, what a difference this is going to look. We're going to see double. Hi, I'm Daisy. And our opponent is hoping a fox gets thrown into their hand right now.
Yeah, at least he has a Brawl. But didn't even quest with that first one.
Oh, interesting. We do actually draw the fox? What? So why do you think he didn't quest? Was he just worried about the fox coming down?
Either fox or just like a couple of hits from the snake.
So we will brawl one of those daisies. That's one less duck to worry about. Snake will likely quest. Is there a reason not to? I mean, if he challenges your snake with your daisies, I think you're okay with that, but perhaps fearing something else. Yep, just passes, leaves the snake ready. We go ahead and get rid of Rapunzel. And actually, hey, I said earlier, we never see this Wendy come down. Well, now it's coming down. Wendy has ward and support, I believe, and is a 3-1 stat line. So Wendy could actually make one of these daisies take out a snake, which is kind of funny. Still not questing.
Maybe we're just setting up for the Kita again.
The Kita, yeah. Although we're still 2 turns away from that if his ink is accurate, unless he inked a 4th time.
He has the fox, though. So it's not... He's at 0 lore. The daisies are kind of looking subpar right now.
Yeah, and we drew Maui into hand, so with Maui, Fox, Medusa, we're ready to kind of start answering any of these threats our opponent puts out other than these warded cards. I wouldn't hate seeing Scrooge come down here. Sorry, go ahead, Luke.
I was just going to say, Kendall's just sitting here looking at this Maui like, where were you last game, bro?
Yeah.
I had my 3 characters. They would have easily taken out the Donald Duck, and then you could have came in and cleaned up for me. But no. I had to draw
he was
the
enjoying his
unequals.
enchanted self too much.
I know, right? Maybe it's
Scrooge
flavorful.
comes down and another pass. Oh, man. I'm very curious to know. I don't know. Like, surely the longer this goes on, the more it's going to favor red-purple, right? I don't know why he's being so patient.
He just has the soul read that there's not B prep and No, I'm Not Sand.
Yeah. And the Kita turn will be, I mean, pretty good against a card like Maui. Can just kind of negate it, as can Fox. Those rush characters really override the advantage the Kita gives you. You could just put out the castle here and move something into it if you wanted. Granted, they have a Scrooge on the other side, so Scrooge could one-shot the castle.
Well, Scrooge plus. Does the Wendy?
Well,
if support,
like if the Wendy quests and then gives them support.
So she is support as well. I thought she was just ward.
Let me double check on that. Yeah,
I can.
Well,
I can
while
pop
we've got
it
a
up
moment
right now.
Yes, she does have support.
Okay. It's like we got those lists. We've got the power.
Right? We have the technology. Maui actually coming down early. Okay. So this Maui now will be susceptible to the Kita.
Still has a 3. And it could be that he's just like, whatever. Like, I've got Fox and Medusa with him in hand.
And Rabbit to bounce for some more card draw. So surely this is the big key to play we've been waiting for, which we will get 8 lore out of this if everyone quests.
Which is a bit of lore.
Here we go. Finally, the Atlantean comes down. Everyone on the board loses -3 strength. Now we're going to quest out. We're going to go to 8. Our opponent's going to get 2 daisy triggers where we can reveal the top card.
We got?
First one is Chernobogs.
We got ink.
And, double Chernobogs. 2 for the price of 1, baby. So currently, Snake and Rabbit have no attack. Maui still has 3, so Maui can take out the Wendy if he so desires. We do have a Fox in hand too, so we could easily bounce the Rabbit. You can also just drop a Medusa and essentially blow away anything on that board you feel like.
So it's kind of interesting. Like if you drop the Fox, it lets you take out a Daisy, and then it probably gets eaten back. Or like if they drop a Kita, it doesn't really do anything again.
Yeah.
But it's there at least. Like next turn, it plus the Maui could take out another Daisy through a Kita.
Yeah. So probably if you want to go the Fox, I'd imagine you'd quest with Rabbit, bounce Fox, bounce the Rabbit to draw. You could, again, Medusa, you could get something like the Scrooge off the board. That way he doesn't have that high attack power. And then your opponent could still quest for 6 next turn, go to 14. You definitely have the advantage in cards and hand size, and you actually have a handful of ink this game, unlike last game.
Pretty important differences.
Yeah, we've definitely seen how much that matters. Looks like we are going to go in on Medusa. Yeah, I imagine we're going to hit the Scrooge.
It's like a better Kita at this point.
Yeah. And will we quest yet with Rabbit and Snake? I don't think Theotime wants to spend his Kita's power challenging the Snake, but it looks like no, we're continuing to just be patient on Noimnot's side.
It's an interesting thing because you normally don't need to race, but he is going to 14. And this very well could be a scenario that like you have 1 or 2 turns to gain your 20 lore before you can't answer one of his characters and it gets to stay readied, right? Like
McDuck Banner is unfortunately quite useless in this situation, as Maui and Medusa, or Maui and Snake even, would clean it up. I guess if it would draw attacks away from your characters, maybe that is worth it.
It's not fantastic, but yes. Like, so he has 15 damage in play, Kendall does. And then that's enough to take down all of the characters, but not the location. So playing the location here, sans, I mean, I guess there's a Fox too. Does that actually make it enough?
Well, you wouldn't be able to get the Kita, but like if you do Maui Snake into the location, Medusa into a Daisy, Fox into a Daisy, she's just left with Kita. So you still answer it pretty handily. But also this blue-yellow deck doesn't have any card draw currently, so it's kind of just going off the top. Daisy trigger will occur. It is a Rabbit. Second Daisy trigger will occur. Another Rabbit. Wow, we've seen doubles 2 times in a row. Double purple cards that can draw cards. Clearly, Noimnot's deck is trying to apologize to him from last game. I kind of, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I kind of like the Wendy a little better because at least the Wendy can sit there, sans like a Be Prepared. Or a Tremaine, I guess, potentially could be. So he does go in on the McDuck Manor. They may have started construction on this building today, but it will be torn down by tomorrow.
Maybe it might survive.
He might choose the characters. Yeah, he might favor the characters over the Flynn. Not terrible either. You could both Flynn and Fox this turn, and your opponent isn't going to be able to outstrength a Maui. So
we're at 7. If he had another rabbit, he could answer it all, or another snake. I mean, be able to bounce the Maui.
One thing to note, and this is kind of one of the interesting things about Lorcana compared to a game like Magic, is we still are on 1 lore, so we are still going to have to at some point get to 20 before our opponent can just kind of cheese away that last little bit.
Take a gander at the deck list here on the bottom for a second. Some people 10 minutes ago wanted to see it. They can wait 10 minutes. I don't know if these lists are publicly available anywhere, but they are a little outdated. So I'm assuming both of these people have lists on their Twitters and other places of social media.
Yeah.
Blue Sky and such.
If Noimnot wanted to try to fish for another answer, what he could do is quest with the rabbit, bounce it with the fox, see if you can draw into something like a brawl. Then you would still have enough ink to brawl one of the daisies, send Snake and Maui into the manor. Oh no, but you would need 5 to take out the Kita. So even with a brawl, I still don't think there's a way you get everything this turn.
Yep. Play rabbit, see what we got. We have 7, so we can rabbit and fox. Now he's like, well, do I show them that I have 2 rabbits? The question doesn't matter. The other question is, are you going to be drawing with fox no matter what? Like, is fox the best thing? I mean, so like if you're drawing a card, what would you draw that you would do over the fox? So there could be a world that he uses the rabbit in play, bounces it, because if he draws, say, a brawl, he might want to play that instead, because the brawl might be enough, right? A brawl taking out a daisy, and then the Medusa takes out a daisy, and the Maui takes still 3 out, actually. Still 3 off.
So Maui drops the Kita. Madame Medusa will take out one of the daisies. Here comes the fox. We actually bounced the Madame Medusa, favoring the spot removal, saying, I've got enough cards in hand. There goes the other daisy. We could send both Snake and Rabbit into the manor at this point, which is what I'm thinking we'll do.
Yeah. I kind of hope he is just like Flynn, Sisu, or like Flynn, followers, Broom. Like I kind of he's just like boom, just like dump my hand out.
Yeah, go wide, because I mean, it's not like your opponent's going to threaten you with any kind of word wipe. Looks like he might be listening. Yep, he heard what you said, Luke.
He heard it. He got the soul read. I mean, he's much better at this red-purple game than me by far. Like, I can't think of anyone who I would listen to over him when it comes to Ruby Amethyst.
I mean, if we do a straight quest next turn, we're getting 9 lore, assuming that Flynn triggers, which means Theotime needs to get to 20 very, very quickly. McDuck Manor will put him to 16. Another McDuck Manor, although...
let's see.
There's 5 on the first one. So Fox could finish off the first one. Yeah, and then Snake and Maui would easily hit the second one. So you probably have to go in on the Wendy. The Wendy has ward at least, so you know it can't get Medusa. Although I don't think there's any instant lore in this deck.
So, yeah.
So Flynn will trigger. We'll get 3. That's going to put us to 4. Maui or Fox alone can take out the Manor. And if you quest with everyone else, if you take a hit it with the Maui and quest with everyone, I think that'd put you all the way up to 10. More card draw. And this is very much looking in Ruby Amethyst's favor at this point. Can't really conceive of a way for blue yellow to get out of this unless no I'm not is again patient for some reason and decides not to quest out this turn. But I would assume the time for patience has come and gone, and it is now time to step on the proverbial gas, as they say.
With cards like Windy, he realizes that if he doesn't put lethal on the stack, there's a world he could lose this game.
Yes.
And how do you not do that?
We do get another Medusa. There's our next rabbit. Draw again. Looks
right.
like that is... Well, there's Be Prepared if we absolutely need it.
Yep. I mean...
We shouldn't, but...
It's good to know it's there, right?
Yeah. So here's the quest out. Actually does decide to leave the Flynn up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5. We should go to 9. And then I think we have lethal on board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus 3 if the Flynn... Yeah, if the Flynn triggers, we have lethal on board. So our opponent needs to either win or answer Flynn somehow.
Hey, that is awarded to Lore Threat, though. That if he did not put Lorthal in play, he could have lost. He would have had to play B prep anyways.
Yeah. So Wendy will quest for 2, get us to 18, which is so close yet so far. Here comes, is that Duke Weaselton? Is that character's name?
Yeah.
And this should be lethal unless No I'm Not falls asleep. So we'll get 3 from the Flynn. That'll take us up to 12. With 8 on board. Yep, and we just quest out. Interesting. So looking back on that one, my immediate reaction, because it was kind of the biggest thing from a deck that's usually so aggressive. Do you think he played? Do you think Theotime played too passive by really? He didn't quest. I don't think till turn 5. Do you think he should have gone in sooner, or how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's hard to say. If he would have went in sooner, he probably would have lost harder. Like the daisies are feeding his opponent. More chances for Mauis, more chances for Foxes.
True.
We know that he might have been able to get away with it, but since he's also so think of it this way: he's trying to play Kita, right?
Yeah.
If he lets that snake put 3 damage on one of his daisies, that's a daisy that might be banished through a Kita.
True. Oh, that's a good point. Well, wait, how would the Kita banish it?
I mean, if there was a Fox in play, it could still put 1 point on it.
Oh, yeah, I got what you're saying. Okay.
So, it might be able to have the last 1 point to finish it off. But that's possibly a low chance, because most likely that's only going to matter for, a Fox or a Sisu.
Yeah.
And Fox
Theotime will get to go first this time. So far, whoever has gone first has won their game.
Although, I don't know if I would put that all on who went first as much as the draws.
Yeah, that's more just
the draws.
I'm saying that's more coincidence. Based on the way the first game played out, you wouldn't have expected.
Yeah. It looked like Kendall was going to win that one for sure, and then Theotime is just well, I have 3 Kitas. 1 will be Ink, the other 2, well, they're going to win me the game.
Back to back, no challenges. Love to see it. Well, we are getting the much coveted game 3. And it seems these decks are well matched. I wasn't sure if one was favored over the other, but it seems like it's really just going to come down to the draws and how these players play. Like you said, being patient paid off for him as far as he got so close to that 20 lore value.
Oh, yeah. Chat's having a little discussion about that they don't like that Kita doesn't actually mean all characters. Kind of how it only impacts them when she comes into play.
Yeah, that has always felt a little just strange. Like it feels kind of bad. Or it's like, hey, I did this big thing where you can't attack. Well, here I'm attacking anyway. And you go, oh, okay. Well,
So it would have needed to been worded that was like, when this comes into play, until your next turn, characters get or until
all
your
characters
next,
have -3 or something.
yeah, like until the start of your next turn, this character gains, all other characters get -3 willpower. That way it gives it a static ability, because I
Yeah.
think the issue is that it just says all characters gain would
Yeah.
stack when it comes in. But if it gave the key to the ability to permanently like static ability nerf the board, then that would be the workaround. I don't know if that's too wordy for them to want to do, or maybe it's like the perfect cleanup and you're gonna see cards with that wording in a couple of years. Who knows? Maybe I'll be working for RB.
Hey, there you go.
That was my whole thing. I was like, I'm gonna spike this DLC just to get a job interview.
Exactly. Ta-da.
Ta-da! I mean, that's like the dream, I feel, for a lot of people. Like, if you play card games or board games or video games, you want you want to work in that industry somehow. You want to play games professionally. You want to help design games. You want
Absolutely.
you want to do reviews. Like, I wish I was better at the English language and grammar so I could actually be a journalist, because doing a games journalist would have been great in the 90s when, like, those paper magazines existed. Nowadays,
Oh, I know.
maybe not AI algorithmed IGN, but
That would be a hoot and a half, sir.
well,
And then I can put all this backseat designing to use.
Exactly. I got tired of too many people being like, "Oh, if you think that, just do it yourself." It's like, okay, then I will.
Yeah, all right, I will.
Only getting rid of one card, keeping the key to shift line, which could be pretty good. Theotime's on the play, gets to be aggressive. No, I'm not though. Has a 1-drop, has a fox, and a Sisu.
And a brawl.
Ooh, keeping the brawl for either ink or play. I could see it being inked. Brawl's only really good against Daisy, I feel like. The rest of the cards that it hits are warded, so it doesn't quote unquote hit them.
Yeah, although Kita kind of gives you like brawl targets you wouldn't normally expect to have, so you can always potentially do that too. Yeah, he's got a lot of choices too on Theotime side. We can do the Kita shift, like you said, the Daisy. You can even do the Nala. I don't know if you would favor the Nala over the Daisy, but
with Daisy and Kita in hand, I doubt this Nala is getting played. Maybe it depends on whether or not the Kita is being shifted. I don't know if the game plan is shift Kita or not. That Kita just might be ink, because he has like a pretty solid 3-4-5. Well, so it's like Daisy, Weasel, Alice, Sven, and like Alice into Sven is dirty.
Yeah, it is.
this is dirty.
That's a good play.
This is
we actually haven't seen the Alice hit the board yet in any of these games.
Yeah, and then like Alice giving the Daisy ward to prevent the brawl. Like, this is a pretty solid curve. When this deck beats Ruby decks, it's probably because of this curve. I would think.
Do you think this is kind of the new premier way to play aggro, or do you think the Amethyst Amber version still has some legs?
I mean, it just depends on what type of reach or anti-disruption you want. So, like, the Amethyst just goes for goat, drain, and gathers as a type of reach. You try to play a few things, hope they go sideways, and then you just try to play it and top deck the burn. And this one is more like, I'm going to play characters that you can't interact with and hope to turn them sideways. And then my late game burn is just a character you can't interact with. So it's a little weaker to beat preps.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown. Yeah, the one thing I like about the Amethyst version is the Chromicon keeps your hand full, whereas this one can seem to run out of steam a little more. But like you said, sometimes it just gets there fast enough that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's one thing I also liked about the Chromicon list, is like, you knew that there was always like, I'm at 18 lore, or I'm at 16 lore. Well, I know that if I draw enough cards, I win the game. So like, because I just have the gathers, I have the
Yeah.
cards to do. I just need to not lose the game and hope to just like there's still an out. Whereas in sometimes with these character decks, you're like, oh, I have to play a character, but I know they have Lady Tremaines and B preps. What do I do?
Yeah. Good point. Good draw off the Daisy and the Elsa Fifth Spirit. Of course, it's going to be 4 turns before we can get to that card. I actually wondered if
Ooh,
Theotime might go in on a double 1-drop with the Daisy and the Kita, but decides to go for the Duke Weaselton as well. Very
so
powerful when you're going first, as you know this opponent isn't going to be able to answer it until turn 3 at the earliest.
this Daisy draw was not a good draw because he literally has his turns 1 through 5 planned. And
So
he
he doesn't want the
has to
Elsa?
draw ink. Has to hit ink. That no, him drawing the second Daisy is what I mean.
Oh, sorry.
Is
You
like
were talking about
so
Theotime.
yeah, so now he has to draw an ink here. All right.
Whew,
Luckily
he
for
got it.
him he did, so he can ink this, play the Alice, maintain his pressure. But like if he misses an ink, all of a sudden he has to ink his play. He either
Yeah.
has to ink the Kita to maintain pressure or ink the Sven and play a 1-drop. Like, so I assume it's probably inking the Kita. This is looking scary for Kendall. Like
I know,
6
especially since he
lore,
missed a 2-drop.
obviously draws the Flynn off of it, so a turn off on the Flynn.
We do have Fox at least. We draw into another Elsa, which will help us when we get to turn 5, but not quite there yet. We can also brawl probably the well, yeah, Daisy's the only non-warded character, so you could brawl the Daisy. You could run Fox into it. You could try to save Fox to potentially surprise the Alice. Of course, he doesn't know his opponent has a Sven. That's just going to potentially stand that Alice back up.
I almost think you Fox. Like the question is whether or not you gain a lore, put 1 damage, and I assume it's a lore because you're not really gonna get that in play again. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a world that next turn you play Sisu Broom, but I feel you're probably playing Goat or Rabbit. Goat because it's a big enough like attack to be able to take things down.
Here comes Fox. I'm assuming is going to target the Daisy. Unless we just really want
We
potentially
have
another card in hand.
no. We
Yeah,
have
he actually goes for the ward.
We have 2 brawls in hand. So
Although that Alice will have something to say about that.
yeah.
So if Theotime can get ink, he can keep on the line as you suggested. Will he get it? Yes, actually, double reindeer. Ooh, that I wonder if that changes. He might now ink the Kita to just go reindeer 2 turns in a row.
Yeah, it's an interesting like thought.
Like you said, Sven with Alice is just kind of unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
the
what
double
we're going for.
folks. It's Christmas time. What better time for double reindeer? Alice is
'Cause-
going to give lore and an extra lore and ward to Daisy Duck. Go ahead, Luke.
I was gonna say not only is it good, but if you draw another bad inkable, then you get to play your 4 and your 1-drop. So like it also applies even more pressure because instead of like a Kita to protect your board and 2 lore, you're protecting just your Alice and 4 lore. So
Yeah.
it's like a 6 lore turn 5 readied up. This game's probably over.
Yeah, it's
At
very
this
much
point.
looking that way. The Daisy even caused our opponent to miss on a friends on the other side. Uh-oh.
Oh. There we
Okay,
go.
now we're
I was
back.
like,
And we're
I was
back.
like, I didn't do anything. That wasn't me, I swear.
Yeah, because he's not going to be able to challenge or spot remove this Alice, this Sven. Not that he has the card for the Sven anyway. Even the Elsa's not going to be able to do it. We can at least take a bite out of the Daisy. But we're going to go up by 5, go to 16 next turn with another protected Alice. I don't see how Kendall can get out of this. Can't brawl either of these targets. You couldn't brawl the Sven anyway.
I mean, the Elsa next turn will at least help deal with this shenanigans with the Svens. It's still going to be rough. That's 5 going to 16. Yeah, actually, I think it's just over.
Yeah, because the Elsa won't be able to target the Alice and whoever the Alice protects
Right.
The Fox will be able to clean up the one that's sitting there, but then the Elsa will just come down and be like, oh, I have no one to target. Goat will come down, gain us 1 lore, but we are far away from 20. We'll be able to punt it. Yeah, man, this double Sven line is going to be, I think, is going to be the winner for Theotime. And we get the Kita back anyway, just in case.
Just
in case you change your mind.
So, I mean, we saw Harlan Sweet playing with Alice in a Blue Steel aggro list in the EU Championship, and now we're seeing, like, well, we've seen this one the last few weeks. I think didn't this, like, get crushed by Blue Steel, but then crushed the other lists? So, it probably is very draw dependent. Like, he did have, I mean, like, this draw's very good. Like, I would not want to ever sit down across from this draw.
I know.
How do you deal with that? Like, what could he... I mean, maybe the 2-drop was all that mattered. Like, maybe a snake or something to deal with that weasel.
I don't know what different... But yeah, maybe. Maybe that could have done enough.
Because then Elsa comes down here, and you get rid of the 2 Svens, and maybe they were at 14. Like, there's a world... that if he had a 2-drop, he might have been able to stabilize at 19. Maybe. And that's...
Yeah, because there's nothing he can do here, right? He could brawl the Daisy, then he can't Elsa.
He has to get rid of 3 characters and leave just Alice.
Yeah, with 5 ink. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that's quite possible. Yeah, this is one of those games. It was similar to a Steel Song I watched last week too, where it's just like, I just, like, what do you do? They just had every single thing. Like, there's just nothing you can do about a draw like that, just like you said. I guess the snake could have taken out the weasel potentially a turn earlier, but you're still on the, like, by the time the snake could attack, the fox could go in anyway. So maybe that would have slowed him down enough. And it looks like we're just conceding. No, I'm not. Scooped his hand up, realizing that, like you said, I have to get rid of 3 characters, and there's just no way to do that.
Yeah,
on 5 ink.
You just can't handle that.
Whew, man, those reindeers were coming in clutch. Holy moly, what a fast victory.
Let's pop the... Oh, that's not it. I was like, let's pop the deck list back up so we can get these onto the screen, and we'll jump back into the Discord so we can chit-chat with the players for a post-match interview.
Do I need to mute on Ninja or anything, or just keep everything as...
You don't need to do anything.
Okay.
Although they can't hear you right at the moment. Until we get into the... Until you start talking in Discord, that is. I guess I'll unmute you since they're not in here yet, so we can still chit-chat a little bit.
That was interesting. Yeah, so that last one was kind of more what I would expect out of like a yellow-blue aggro opening. You know, just it hit everything it wanted to, went off. Not really anything you can do about it. The middle one was very interesting with just how patient both players were, that they were being very, very patient and waiting to quest. And then the first one was just kind of strange too. Yeah, that was not the way I thought this set would go. I don't know how I thought it would go, but it wasn't that.
Oh man, chat's going crazy for Kendall winning game 2.
Oh, wait till they see it. I like all the be prepareds in your chat. That's funny.
I think it's all RMB's little
oh yeah
emojis.
It is not exclusive to Lorcana because I've pretty much experienced in any card game I've played. But yeah, that was definitely one of those games where it's just like there's just nothing you can do. Like they just had everything and
you missed one thing.
Exactly. We have them hopping down. Okay, looks like they might be joining us.
Hello?
Kendall.
What's up?
How you feeling after that?
I mean, it was rough. I definitely didn't play as well as what I wanted to. I feel like there was a couple mistakes I know I definitely made. I was telling Theo I stayed up like way too late last night. Uh, but yeah, I think game one was probably my opportunity to like, uh, you know, take a game on the draw because he bricked pretty well. But then I bricked. Um, And yeah, there was obviously a risk in not drawing an Inkable the next turn, but I don't think it's necessarily correct to not play anything on turn 5. So yeah, I mean obviously that kind of got punished by that. Um,
Yep.
Game 2, I know I made a misplay, or I felt like it was a misplay as far as how I attacked into McDuck Manor. I potentially gave up one lore because the Maui would have been able to swing into McDuck Manor anyways. But that lore ended up not mattering. But still, I mean, it could have. Uh, but there are some merits also to doing that because the fox gets to cleanly enter the Midduck Manor. So for some reason, like if you play Scrooge and my draw is Elsa or something, there are some draws where that's like a fine attack. But also, if I was trying to win in 2 turns, the one lore potentially mattered. And then game 3, my mulligan I think was maybe a little questionable. Kept what the one drop fox Sisu brawl. Brawl is probably definitely Brawl is okay, but it's a little slow on the draw. It's mostly fine for like when he plays Kita, like I can brawl a Kita or brawl a Scrooge or something. But I definitely needed to probably mulligan a lot more aggressively for a 2 drop. So I think the keep is probably just like one drop in Fox. Because even like we saw, like the Sisu was too slow at that point. But yeah, I definitely needed a 2 drop, whether that was Snake or Flynn, just to like contest an early character like the I
Yeah,
don't even know what is
we
the
discussed
1/2.
it. The Weasel. We were like, if he had played a 2 drop, I think he might have been able to stabilize at 19.
Yeah,
At
yeah, the match was
19.
gonna be it was gonna be like that draw was gonna be really rough, I think, regardless, even if I had like a 2 drop. Just because his turn 5 was insane. The Alice was like untapping
Yeah.
the Alice multiple times and then giving ward, so it was still gonna be a very hard game. Um, yeah, I think mostly missing my 6th ink on
The first
in
game.
game 1. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, like I don't hate just playing the goat there. I don't think it's probably because if I draw Inkables and I start like playing Lady Tremaines and stuff like that, there's a chance I don't even have to like be prepared and I can just kind of race or, trade with what's on board. So I'm not gonna skip my whole turn 5, uh, to potentially not draw an Inkable or something like that.
Fair. All right, Theotime.
But I don't think.
How. Oh, finish your thought.
Uh, I think like my game 1 and 2 hands, like the mulligans, I think it was 7 and 6. So really not like a big decision there on what to mulligan, but definitely the game 2 or the game 3, I probably should have mulliganed a little bit better.
Fair. Fair. So you were able to take it 2-1. Was that what you were expecting to do, or were you pretty happy with those results, like unexpectedly? To your time.
Um, um, I knew if I was on the play, I would have a huge advantage. When we tested, it was very, very tough to take games on the draw because if the red purple player goes Flynn Sisu, it's almost lost immediately because you can't contest the 3 lore until Scrooge.
Mm.
So I knew it would be complicated. Um, it was way closer than what it was supposed to be on the game 2, and I think it was an entertaining game to watch. But yeah, I think based on the test that I made, it was expected result.
Okay. Good to know. Although we were
I was.
discussing during the match if like this is the new aggro list that people might want to go. It's been a few weeks, obviously, since you locked this in. And after seeing the EU championships, how do you feel about this list?
I think it's terrible. Very, very bad.
It does have some merits though, like all the ward characters. So generally, aggro decks kind of struggle against steel. Now you did lose to Zach, right? So
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know, maybe, but I mean, at least from my side, all the ward characters are a pretty big headache because they're essentially just guaranteed the lore already.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
But it's terrible versus green purple, almost unplayable.
Oh,
Because green purple goes way too fast even on the draw, and the fox is a nightmare for this deck.
Crab's probably
And
pretty annoying too.
yeah, for sure. And versus red blue, when you are on the draw, it can be very difficult to win. You saw me getting destroyed by Sailor
Yeah.
last week on the play, but that's not what he's supposed to do. You are supposed to win on the play versus red blue for sure. But on the draw, it's not better than green purple. So I don't think there is any reason to play this deck over green purple if you want to be an aggressive player.
So it's just missing a few things to stay relevant in the format, kind of.
Yeah, like interaction.
Do you have anything to say, Rose?
Um, I think if I quest with a Daisy, I give too much value to the Ruby player, and because he will be able to find all the answers to everything, and I want to do the biggest turn possible when Kidas come into play in order to quest in 2 times plus the 4 lore that will be missing probably. Um, if I go too soon, I will. In fact, I think I will lose lore because too much things will die before Kidas come into play.
yeah, it's much easier for me to like remove one threat a turn,
Yeah.
rather than he can have one big turn to go wide, and especially with the Kita, then it's harder for me to remove them anyway. So it guarantees more lore the next turn.
But it feels like counterintuitive to have 3 Daisy on the board and do not quest with them. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. We just discussed it a little bit while playing. We're just like, that's a lot of daisies, but it's like, yeah, he's got to save it for the Kita to like really do it. Just like as you had already gave plenty of reasons why. We kind of discussed the same.
I
Yeah, for sure.
honestly, and I know that she gave ward, but I mean, I don't really care, but I thought we had a life totals discrepancy because he was like, I was like, all right, you go to 10. He's like, no, I go to 11. And I just didn't even know the other line of text that she gets
Yep.
+1 word or +1 lore as well. I was like, all right, well, sure. I think it was good enough. So yeah, Alice is great, but,
I definitely also forgot about that the first time I played against it. I was just like, wait a second. Like, I thought it was good when it just gave ward. It gives +1 lore too.
Yeah, it's a very, very good card. It's the best card of the deck by far.
Well, it was a great showing. Are you excited for watching the rest of today's match?
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Who is it again? Sailor and who else?
Artabax will destroy Sailor.
Yeah, I think traditionally the matchup's not that great.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably gonna be Sailor having to get a little lucky. I mean, I'm definitely going for my own team, right? But
Yeah.
I'll just give it to you straight, I guess.
Yeah, I was really disheartened when I saw that they were doing it at 3 p.m. because it's like right when I have to go pick my kid up from school. So it's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to try to cast that one, but I'll be able to watch it from the car. All right, well, congratulations again. Starting off the week. See, this is the week that NA needed to go reverse sweep from first week, but you're starting off against what needs to happen for NA to win. So I guess congrats for you doing that, and Kendall, you disappointed us all. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I should have tried better and played a better deck, that's for sure.
Yeah, just draw better. Jeez, get good. Great showing, though. Obviously, you did better than most of us would have even have dreamed about doing in the same situation. You two have a great day. Go for it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I think midway through this tournament, obviously, like I had suggested that I wanted to make changes where obviously I wanted 8-1 drops, and there's something else. Oh, 8-1 drops and like the additional genie. So what I basically had settled on was cutting the 2 castles and then removing 1 rabbit for 1 genie. So play 3/3 on genie rabbit. So I just had 2 locations, and I mean, I kind of started to agree with the idea that locations might not be as good right now, but people are still respecting them less and less. So that's definitely a card that's gonna like come in and out of the meta because people will either one not play around them, or two they start taking a lot more of their hate out. Like people start trimming more on Maui's, or they take out the hideaways and or Cusco, stuff like that. So they were, I think the value and locations were a little bit down, but I still felt like I wanted at least access to like 2 of them, to kind of attack on a different axis against like the different control decks. So like specifically in the mirror and red blue, because red blue is definitely great at just removing all of your characters. And Castle was one way that we did put pressure on them. So yes, Genie was like really good and does the same thing as far as like questing for 2 and putting pressure on, but it definitely dies to a lot more of their removal in the deck. So yeah, that was like my first change. And then actually like a little over a week ago, I had seen people talk about Bell, and I was like, oh, that's like a cute idea. But I didn't really have like time to like test it out myself. And then I was hanging out with some people in our team, and they had experimented with the red purple list, and they were like, "Hey, we have a card that might be good against the green purple match," because we were talking about the green purple matchup. And I was like, oh, "Okay, what is it?" And they mentioned Bell, and I was like, "All right, well that's like multiple times I've heard Bell, so I decided to try it out in my list." And it was kind of funny because the list I had played last week, I think, was 1 card off from like the winning list essentially. So yeah, I think currently there's no locations, but I think it's definitely a card that would be like that works its way into flex slots for the deck sometimes, depending on on how the meta shakes up, because I think generally formats are a little bit faster or more aggressive at the beginning of formats. But then they kind of slow down and become more grindy. So
Gotcha.
I don't think
Awesome.
Queen Castle is like a bad card. It's definitely like it's definitely like the best location and still a really good card. Currently I'm not playing them, but it is like a flex slot that I like would highly consider.
Awesome. Very detailed explanation. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sorry, I was just yapping a lot about that.
No, that's I want to hear those deep, in-depth thoughts, and that's great. Thanks, Luke. Those were all
But
my
yeah.
questions.
Now I'm just all disheartened after finding out that apparently I had your voice. I didn't have you muted.
Yeah,
I had your volume turned down in Discord, and so I should have heard you twice, and I didn't. It's probably why I didn't hear you the last time we streamed together, and I wasn't able to get it fixed. Like, that had to have been it. Well, we figured it out 3 weeks later.
Woohoo!
Well, thanks again, Kendall and Theotime. You have a great day.
Definitely. You too. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
having us.
Thanks, boys. And for those watching at home, don't forget you can catch Artifacts versus Sailor at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Garrick's Twitch channel for the English stream.
Yep. And in about 10 minutes' time, well, while you're hearing this, it should be literally right now, we're going to raid somebody. But 10 minutes for Rose and I. All right. So you all have a great day, and we'll chat with you later.